I never saw it coming. 5 years of marriage to Allison Reed, my college sweetheart, the woman who'd been by my side since sophomore year when she spilled coffee on my laptop in the university library. I'd forgiven her then with a smile. I should have recognized that as the first of many things I would forgive her for. I'm Nathan Reed, 29, software developer at Pinnacle Tech. Nothing special about me, average height, decent shape from weekend runs, the kind of guy who remembers birthdays and brings home flowers on random Tuesdays. I thought that made me a good husband. Maybe it made me a fool. We met at State University during a rainstorm in October. She was an ambitious marketing major with plans to conquer the corporate world. I was the tech geek who built websites between classes. Somehow we fit. I admired her hunger, her drive. When she talked about campaigns and strategies, her eyes lit up like she was plotting to take over the world. I found it beautiful. After graduation, I landed a job first, bought our house before we married, everything in my name since I had the steady income while she hopped through entry-level positions. Smart financial planning, our parents called it. I had no idea how crucial that decision would become. We didn't have kids yet, though we'd talked about it. Maybe next year, maybe when we were more settled. Life felt good, predictable, stable. I was proud of what we'd built together. Proud of her, then came that Friday. The Friday that changed everything, though I had no clue at the time. I was coding on the couch when our front door flew open. Allison burst in, practically vibrating with excitement, her blazer half off one shoulder, hair coming loose from her usually perfect bun. "I got it," she screamed, dropping her purse on the floor. "Nathan, I got the promotion!" I jumped up, genuinely thrilled. Senior marketing strategist, the position she'd been angling for since she joined the company 3 years ago. 15% raise, bigger office, company credit card. All the things she'd dreamed about while we lay in bed planning our futures. "I knew you would," I told her, lifting her off the ground in a bear hug. "They'd be idiots not to promote you." We celebrated with Italian takeout from Vincenzo's, her favorite linguine with clam sauce that I couldn't stand but ordered for special occasions. I popped a bottle of champagne we'd been saving, and we toasted on the living room couch. Her legs draped across my lap as we ate straight from the containers. "There's more," she said, sipping champagne with a nervous smile. "I'll be traveling. With Greg Carlisle, her boss, mid-40s, married with 2 kids, the kind of man who wore expensive watches and talked too loud at company parties. I'd met him twice and thought nothing of him. The Denver pitch is in 2 weeks, she continued, twirling her champagne glass between her fingers. 3 days, then probably Chicago the month after, maybe New York in the fall. I didn't hesitate, didn't think twice. "This is your dream, Al. I'm not going to hold you back." She set down her glass, crawled across the couch, and kissed me, deep, grateful, tasting of champagne and promise. "You're the best husband ever, you know that?" she whispered against my lips. I believed her completely. Later that night, as she slept beside me, I lay awake thinking about how proud I was of her. Her ambition had always attracted me, the way she set goals and crushed them, her relentless drive. Her hunger for success had always matched my need for stability. Perfect balance. I decided I'd use her trip to finally finish coding that personal project I'd been procrastinating on. 3 days alone would be productive. I'd order pizza, pull some all-nighters, surprise her with progress when she got back. I had no idea that in 2 weeks, everything I thought I knew about my marriage would be destroyed in a single hotel room. The 2 weeks passed in our normal rhythm. Morning coffee shared over weather forecasts, good-night kisses that tasted of toothpaste, weekend errands running on autopilot. Nothing felt different. Nothing felt wrong. Tuesday morning came with a gray drizzle. I drove Allison to the airport, her professional armor fully assembled. Navy blazer, pencil skirt, heels that clicked authoritatively on our garage concrete. Her rolling suitcase contained 3 carefully planned outfits. I knew because I'd watched her pack them. Hanging on the closet door while she deliberated between blouses. "You're going to nail this presentation," I told her at departures, pulling her close for a quick kiss. "Knock 'em dead," she smiled against my lips. "I'll try not to leave bodies," she joked, adjusting her blazer. "Text me when you land?" I asked, squeezing her hand. Of course, she promised, rolling her suitcase toward the terminal. 3 hours later, my phone buzzed. Landed. Staying at Grand Summit Hotel, room 712. Miss you already. I sent back a heart and went back to coding. That evening, she texted a photo of her hotel room view. Downtown Denver, framed by mountains. Later, a selfie, her face tired but smiling, hotel bed visible behind her, laptop open beside a room service salad. Long meetings. Brain fried. Love you. I replied with updates about my day. Ordered pizza. Settled into bachelor mode. Feet on the coffee table. Basketball game on low volume. Laptop balanced on my knees as I worked late. Everything felt perfectly normal. I had zero suspicion. This isn't a story about a husband who snooped through phones or hired private investigators. It's about a trusting man who believed in his marriage completely. By Wednesday evening, I simply missed her. Not in a worried way, in a we've been together since college and 3 days feels long way. I kept checking my phone, refreshing our text thread, staring at her tired but smiling selfie. Then I had an idea. What if I surprised her? Showed up at her hotel with flowers, stole a night together before she flew back tomorrow? I imagined her face when she opened the door. Shock, joy, maybe happy tears. I checked flights. One leaving in 2 hours, landing at 10 p.m. Denver time. Before I could overthink it, I booked the ticket, packed a light overnight bag, and headed to the airport. On the way, I stopped at Bloom & Petal, our local florist. Red roses and white lilies, I told the woman behind the counter. Allison's favorites. Special occasion? She asked, wrapping the stems in green tissue paper. Just surprising my wife on a business trip? I answered, pulling out my wallet. She smiled warmly. That's so romantic, she remarked, handing me the bouquet. I grinned like an idiot, excited about my grand gesture. Maybe we'd order room service champagne. Maybe we'd make love with the Denver skyline behind us. Maybe I'd fly home tomorrow night having reminded her why we worked so well together. The flight felt endless. To avoid ruining the surprise, I texted Allison that I was working late on a deadline and wouldn't call for our usual goodnight chat. She replied with a sad face and, "Miss you?" I landed at 10:47 p.m., already imagining the story we'd tell for years, about the time I flew across the country just because I couldn't wait one more day to see her. I caught an Uber straight to the Grand Summit Hotel, flowers in hand, heart racing with anticipation. The hotel lobby gleamed with marble and soft lighting. The night clerk barely looked up as I walked through. I didn't need to check in. I was just visiting. Room 7 on 12. The elevator climbed slowly. 4th floor, 5th, 6th, 7th. The hallway stretched long and quiet, thick carpet muffling my footsteps. Room 708. Room 710. Room 712. I stood at her door, flowers in hand, and raised my knuckles to knock. I knocked 3 times. When that door opened, my entire life ended. Allison answered on the 3rd knock. Her hair was loose and tangled, cheeks flushed pink. She wore only a white hotel robe, barely tied at the waist, exposing a strip of bare skin from throat to navel. For one suspended moment, I thought she'd just showered. Then her eyes went wide with horror. "Nathan?" she gasped, clutching the robe tighter. Behind her, a man's voice called out, "Babe, who is it?" My blood turned to ice. The bouquet slipped from my fingers, hitting the carpet with a soft thud. Red roses, white lilies, crushed under my shoes as I pushed past her into the room. Greg Carlisle lay sprawled across rumpled sheets, naked, except for a thin blanket hastily pulled across his waist. Wine glasses stood on the nightstand. His clothes, expensive suit pants, button-down shirt, lay scattered across the floor beside lace underwear I recognized as Allison's. Time slowed. My brain tried to process what my eyes were seeing. Disbelief collided with reality, my entire world rearranging itself in seconds. Then instinct took over. I pulled out my phone and started recording. "Say hi to the camera, Greg." My voice sounded wrong, cold, mechanical, belonging to someone else. I panned across the room, capturing everything: the rumpled bed, the wine glasses, discarded clothes, Allison in her loosened robe, Greg scrambling to cover himself. Nathan, stop! Allison lunged for the phone, her robe falling open further. I sidestepped her easily. I'm getting evidence. For the divorce, I explained, continuing to record everything. Greg stood up, wrapping the sheet around his waist. Listen, man, this isn't, he began, hands raised. This isn't what it looks like? I laughed, hollow and sharp. It looks like you're f***ing my wife. Nathan, please. Allison's voice broke, tears streaming down her face. Mascara ran in black rivers down her cheeks. Good. I wanted her ruined. Let me explain, she pleaded, reaching for my arm. Explain what? I snapped, jerking away from her touch. That you accidentally fell on his banana? That you've been lying to me for how long? Weeks, months. Greg stepped forward, hands raised placatingly. You need to calm down, he advised, his voice patronizing. Something snapped inside me. Stand up. I spoke directly to Greg, ignoring Allison's pleading. Get up. Listen, I understand you're upset, he started, backing away slightly. My fist connected with his jaw before he could finish. The crack echoed through the room, followed by Allison's scream. Greg stumbled backward, eyes wide with shock. I didn't give him time to recover. I drove my fist into his ribs, once, twice, 3 times in rapid succession. Each impact sent a jolt of satisfaction up my arm. Greg collapsed to his knees. Blood ran from his split lip, dripping onto the pristine hotel carpet. Allison clawed at my shoulders, trying to pull me back. Stop it! You're going to kill him! She screamed, her nails digging into my skin. I shook her off and grabbed Greg by his hair, yanking his head back. His eyes were wide with fear now. I smiled and slammed my fist into his face again. Blood sprayed across the white sheets. His nose collapsed under my knuckles with a wet crunch. I stepped back, breathing hard, staring at Greg's broken body on the floor. His face was a mess of blood and already swelling tissue. He curled into a fetal position, whimpering. Allison stood frozen, one hand covering her mouth, tears and mascara streaming down her face. I held up my phone, still recording. I've got everything I need. We can talk about this, she began, reaching for me again. No. I backed toward the door. I'm filing for divorce. Don't bother coming home. I walked out past the crushed flowers, their sweet scent now sickening. Down the hallway. Into the elevator. Through the lobby where the night clerk now stared openly at my bloody knuckles, I didn't look back. Behind me, I could hear Allison's sobs echoing down the hallway. The sound followed me into the elevator, but I felt nothing. Just cold, clear purpose. I caught the red-eye home at 6 a.m., my hand throbbing, dried blood still under my fingernails. I spent the flight reviewing the video over and over, watching Allison's betrayal in high definition until it was seared into my memory. By the time we touched down, I had one singular focus: destroy her the way she destroyed me. By the time Allison landed back home the next day, I'd already dismantled her entire life. I landed at 6 a.m. and drove straight to an address I'd found during my sleepless flight. Samantha Torres, divorce attorney. Her office wasn't open yet, but I'd sent an emergency email from the plane. She was waiting for me in the parking lot, coffee in hand, sharp eyes taking in my rumpled clothes and bruised knuckles without comment. You said it's urgent, she remarked, unlocking the office. Inside, I showed her the video. She watched without expression, only the tightening of her jaw showing any reaction. When it ended, she set her phone down carefully. This is more than enough, she confirmed. Adultery with clear evidence. You'll keep everything, house, assets, savings. When did you purchase the home? Before we married. Everything's in my name, I answered. Perfect. She has no claim, Samantha concluded, pulling out a legal pad. I can draft papers immediately. You'll be free in 6 months, maybe less given the evidence. I nodded, feeling a cold satisfaction spread through my chest. How quickly can we serve her? I asked. Give me 3 hours, she promised, already making notes. I spent those hours methodically dismantling the life Allison and I had built. First stop, the bank. 9 a.m. sharp. I closed our joint account, transferring $47,000 to my personal account, money mostly from my salary anyway. Allison had always spent more than she saved. Next, the locksmith. I paid extra for immediate service. By noon, every lock in our house had been changed. I handed the old keys to the locksmith, watching him drive away with the last access Allison had to the home I'd built for us. I called my boss, explained a family emergency, took 2 days off. I had work to do. That evening, as the sun set, I heard a car in the driveway. Allison's headlights swept across the living room wall as she pulled in. I watched through the window as she approached the front door, suitcase rolling behind her. Her key slid into the lock but didn't turn. She tried again. Nothing. Then the pounding started. "Nathan, open the door!" she yelled, her fist hammering against the wood. I approached the window, pulled back the curtain. Our eyes met through the glass. I opened the window 1 inch, just enough for my voice to carry. "There's nothing to talk about," I stated flatly. "Please," she begged, mascara already running again. "Just let me explain." "Explain what?" "That you f***ed your boss in a hotel room?" I asked coldly. "That video explains everything. Nathan, I made a terrible mistake. I love you. We can fix this," she pleaded, pressing her hand against the window. I laughed, harsh and cold. "Divorce papers will be sent to your parents' house. Don't try to contact me again. You can't do this. This is my house, too," she protested, voice rising. "Check the deed," I replied calmly. "You did this, Allison." "Not me." I closed the window, locked it, and drew the curtains. I put on noise-canceling headphones and sat in the living room, music drowning out her screams and pounding. Through a gap in the curtains, I watched her collapse on the front step, sobbing into her hands. She stayed until 2 a.m., begging, crying, eventually just sitting in silence. Finally, she stood, dragged her suitcase to her car, and drove away, broken and homeless. But I wasn't done. The next morning, I drafted an email to Allison's company HR department. Subject: Violation of company policy, evidence attached. I wrote professionally, clinically, attaching the video of Allison and Greg. I explained the extramarital affair between employee and supervisor, the violation of conduct policies, the abuse of company resources. Hit send. Closed laptop. 3 days later, Samantha called with news. Both Allison and Greg had received suspension emails. 2 weeks after that, termination letters. Both fired. Professional reputations destroyed. In our industry, word travels fast. I sat at my desk reading the divorce papers one more time. Everything was proceeding exactly as planned. House mine, savings mine, her job gone, her reputation destroyed. I scrolled through texts from mutual friends, people wondering what happened, asking if I was okay. I told them the truth, every brutal detail. Shared screenshots of hotel receipts I'd found, timestamps of calls between Allison and Greg going back months. Let the evidence speak for itself. One by one, friends took sides. Most chose mine. The ones who didn't were dead to me anyway. I poured myself a whiskey, neat, and toasted my computer screen. Phase 1 of destruction, complete. I thought taking her home and career was enough. I was wrong. She still had one place left to fall, and I made sure she'd lose that too. Allison arrived at her parents' suburban home, Linda and Robert Reed, with 2 suitcases and shattered dignity. I wasn't there to see it, but I heard the story later through mutual friends who still talked to both sides. Linda opened the door with a face like stone. "Why are you here?" she asked, not moving to let her daughter in. "Nathan and I are getting divorced," Allison answered quietly, eyes downcast. "Why?" The single word fell like a judge's gavel. Allison hesitated, then confessed in a small voice she'd made a mistake, was seeing someone from work. Robert appeared in the doorway behind his wife, face hardening as he processed his daughter's words. "You cheated on Nathan? That boy who treated you like a queen?" he demanded, his voice rising. "Dad, please," she started, reaching toward him. "Get out," he ordered, stepping forward. Allison tried to explain. Robert's face turned crimson. "You destroyed your marriage. You humiliated yourself in this family. You don't get to bring that shame into this house," he shouted, jabbing a finger at her chest. Linda crossed her arms tightly across her chest. "You should have thought of the consequences before you slept with your boss," she added coldly. The door slammed shut. Allison stood on the porch alone, homeless, jobless, disowned. I learned all this from Linda herself, who called me the next day. They'd received the divorce papers I'd sent to their address, exactly as planned. I knew her traditional parents would never forgive infidelity. I'd counted on their rejection as the final blow. "We didn't raise her to be this person," Linda said, voice thick with emotion. "Robert can't even speak your name without crying." "I'm sorry," I told her sincerely, and I was sorry their daughter had become someone they couldn't recognize. Sorry they were collateral damage in Allison's explosion. "Don't be sorry," she insisted. "You were too good for her." We always knew it. I hung up feeling a grim satisfaction. I hadn't orchestrated her parents' rejection directly, but I'd predicted it. Known their traditional values would never bend to accommodate their daughter's betrayal. The ripple effect of exposure spread far beyond what I'd directly controlled. Allison hadn't just lost me, she'd lost everything and everyone. Through the grapevine, I also learned Greg's marriage had imploded. His wife, unaware of his affairs until my email to HR went viral through the company, had filed for divorce immediately. Now he was paying alimony and child support, barely surviving on unemployment benefits while he tried to resurrect his career from the ashes. One night, a text came from an unknown number. I knew instantly it was Allison, the desperate, rambling tone, the mix of self-pity and pleading. She was sorry, she'd made a horrible mistake, she still loved me, she'd do anything to make it right. She was staying in a cheap motel, had lost her parents, her job, her friends. She was alone and scared. I read it once, blocked the number, deleted the message. I felt nothing, no satisfaction, no anger, no pity, just emptiness where Allison used to live in my heart. 6 months later, the divorce decree arrived. I opened it once, filed it away, and moved on. She never did. The final divorce decree arrived in a manila envelope 6 months after Denver. I opened it at my kitchen table, scanning the legal language that officially dissolved our marriage. 5 years reduced to paperwork. I read it once, filed it in a drawer I'd probably never open again, and made myself a cup of coffee. It was over. Official, complete. I kept the house. Kept my savings, kept my dignity and self-respect. More importantly, I kept moving forward. My coworker, Brian, the one who'd recommended Samantha, Torres, when I showed up at work with the haunted look of a man whose life had imploded, approached. "Me at lunch one day. My wife's friend Claire is single, veterinarian, nice girl. No drama," he offered casually. I hesitated. It had been 5 months since Denver. "Just coffee," he pressed, leaning forward. "What's the worst that could happen?" Claire had kind eyes and an easy laugh. We met at a cafe downtown, away from anywhere Allison and I had frequented. She wore a blue sundress and didn't ask invasive questions when I mentioned I was recently divorced. "Bad ending?" she asked simply, stirring her latte. "The worst," I confirmed with a tight smile. She nodded understandingly. "I dated a pathological liar for 2 years." "I get it," she shared, her expression empathetic but not pitying. Coffee turned into dinner. Dinner turned into weekend hikes. I took it slow, deliberately, cautiously, rewiring my ability to trust. Claire never pushed. She had her own history, her own scars. We recognized the damage in each other and stepped carefully around it. For the first time since Denver, I felt genuinely happy. Not the artificial happiness I'd constructed from revenge, but something quiet and authentic. I remodeled the house, repainted the bedroom, bought new furniture, erased the last traces of Allison from my space. The house felt like mine again, not the mausoleum of a dead marriage. One evening in my newly renovated kitchen, my phone buzzed with a text from Claire. "Dinner tomorrow?" My treat. I smiled, typed back, "Sounds perfect." After sending it, I scrolled through my contacts, found Allison's name still lurking there, and deleted it. Didn't need it anymore. Meanwhile, across town, Allison Reed worked third-shift stocking shelves at a grocery store for minimum wage. She lived in a cramped studio apartment in the worst part of town. Thin walls, broken AC, neighbors who fought at 3 a.m. She ate ramen most nights, scrolled through old photos of the life she'd destroyed, and cried herself to sleep wondering how everything fell apart so fast. She'd tried reaching out to me twice after that first blocked text. I blocked her both times without reading the messages. She tried apologizing to her parents. They hung up. She applied to dozens of marketing jobs. None called back. Word traveled fast in the industry about the woman fired for sleeping with her boss. She saw Greg once, months later, across a Walmart parking lot. Their eyes met. He looked away first, got in his car, drove off. They never spoke again. His life imploded too. Divorced, paying alimony and child support, working a job beneath his experience level because his reputation was toast. But somehow, Allison's fall felt worse. Greg was never the good guy. Allison was supposed to be. She threw away a man who loved her completely, who supported her dreams unconditionally, who would have given her everything. For what? A promotion? An ego boost? 3 nights in a hotel bed? She thought about the moment I walked through that door every single day. The flowers crushed on the floor. The look on my face, not rage, but something worse. Heartbreak turning to ice in real time. She wondered if she'd ever stop replaying that moment. She wouldn't. On a Saturday evening 6 months after the divorce was final, I sat on my back porch, beer in hand, watching the sunset paint the sky orange and purple. Claire was coming over later for dinner. I'd marinated steaks, cleaned the grill, bought a bottle of wine she'd mentioned liking. My phone buzzed. A text from Samantha. Divorce officially closed in system. You're free. Congrats. I typed back. Thanks for everything. I set the phone down, took a long sip of beer, and exhaled. Free. Really, truly free. I thought about Allison for maybe 5 seconds, not with anger anymore, just with a distant, clinical awareness that she had existed once in my life and now she didn't. She was a closed chapter, a lesson learned, nothing more. The doorbell rang. Claire, right on time, holding a bouquet of sunflowers. For your kitchen, she said, smiling warmly. I took the flowers, kissed her cheek, invited her in. We cooked together, laughed about something stupid, ate dinner on the back porch while the sun finished its descent. I didn't think about Allison again that night, or the next, or the one after that, because in the end, I didn't just survive the betrayal, I won. And that's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment below. Your support helps the algorithm push my content further. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps me keep creating more stories for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.